Subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon, to never miss a video from us. Hi. Welcome to Test Prep Training. Today, we will discuss about exam AZ-300, Microsoft Azure Architect Technologies. This exam is currently in trend for candidates, who are planning to build a career in Azure Architect Technologies. Why choose AZ-300? First, implementing workloads, and security. Second, securing authentication data. Third, configure infrastructure. Fourth, developing for the cloud, and Azure storage. Now, we will discuss about eligibility requirements. Number 1. Candidate must have the required experience with Azure Solution Architect skills. Moreover, they should have prior knowledge in the area of budgeting, identity, networking, visualization, business continuity, data management, disaster recovery, and governance. Number 2. Certification is for those who have advanced decision-making skills in Azure Administration, Azure Development, and DevOps. Basic exam details. 1. Just like any other Microsoft exams, this will also comprise a 40 to 60 number of questions. You will be given 150 minutes to complete your exam. There will be numerous types of questions, which include review screen, active screen, mark review, multiple choice, build a list, case studies, drag and drop, repeated answer choices, etc. You have to face these different types of questions in the examination. And if you prepare these, then it will become easy for you to attempt the all. 2. There will be no negative marking on any incorrect answer. In addition, here is a tip: don't leave the exam hall without reviewing your answer. 3. Further, the exam will cost you $165. However, if you are a Microsoft Certified Trainer, Partner Network Program member, or Imagine Academy Program member, then you are eligible for a fee reduction. 4. You will have to secure 700 marks in order to get the certification. Subsequently, you will get the result of your exam, that whether you are pass or fail within a few minutes after completing your exam. Now, course outline. First, deploy and configure infrastructure, which comprises of 40 to 45% weightage in exam. Second, implement workloads and security, which comprises of 25 to 30% weightage in exam. Third, create and deploy apps, which comprises of 5 to 10% weightage in exam. Fourth, implement authentication and secure data, which comprises of 5 to 10% weightage in exam. Fifth, deploy for the cloud and Azure storage, which comprises of 15 to 20% weightage in exam. We will discuss about each domain in detail. Domain 1, deploy and configure infrastructure, which comprises of 40 to 45% weightage in exam. It can be explained in 6 parts. First, analyze resource utilization and consumption. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Configure diagnostic settings on resources. 2. Create baseline for resources. 3. Create and test alerts. 4. Analyze alerts across subscription. 5. Analyze metrics across subscription. 6. Create action groups. Second, monitor for unused resources. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Monitor spend. 2. Report on spend. 3. Utilize log search query functions. 4. View alerts in Azure Monitor Logs. 5. Visualize diagnostics data using Azure Monitor workbooks. Third, create and configure a VM for Windows and Linux. It is divided into 7 parts. 1. Configure high availability. 2. Configure monitoring. 3. Configure networking. 4. Configure storage. 5. Configure virtual machine size. 6. Implement dedicated hosts. 7. Deploy and configure scale sets. 4th, automate deployment of VMs. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Modify Azure Resource Manager template. 2. Configure location of new VMs. 3. Configure VHD template. 4. Deploy from template. 5. Save a deployment as an Azure Resource Manager template. 6. Deploy Windows and Linux VMs. 5th, manage Azure Active Directory. It is divided into 7 parts. 1. Add custom domains. 2. Configure Azure AD Identity Protection. 3. Configure Azure AD Join. 4. Configure self-service password reset. 5. Implement conditional access policies. 6. Manage multiple directories. 7. Perform an access review, Microsoft. 6th, implement and manage hybrid identities. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Install and configure Azure AD Connect. 2. Configure Federation. 3. Configure Single Sign-On. 4. Manage and troubleshoot Azure AD Connect. 5. Troubleshoot password sync and write back. Now, Domain 2. Implement workloads and security, which comprises of 25 to 30% weightage in exam. It can be explained in 6 parts. First, migrate servers to Azure. It is divided into 2 parts. 1. Migrate servers using Azure Migrate. 2. Backup and restore data. Second, configure serverless computing. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Create and manage objects. 2. Manage a Logic App resource. 3. Manage Azure Function App settings. 4. Manage Event Grid. 5. Manage Service Bus. 4th, implement application load balancing. It is divided into 3 parts. 1. Configure Application Gateway. 2. Configure Azure Front Door Service. 3. Configure Azure Traffic Manager. 5th, integrate on-premises network with Azure Virtual Network. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Create and configure Azure VPN Gateway. 2. Create and configure site-to-site VPN. 3. Configure Express Route. 4. Configure Virtual WAN. 5. Verify on-premises connectivity. 6. Troubleshoot on-premises connectivity with Azure. 5th, implement multi-factor authentication. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Configure user accounts for MFA. 2. Configure fraud alerts. 3. Configure bypass options. 4. Configure trusted IPs. 5. Configure verification methods. 6th, manage role-based access control. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Create a custom role. 2. Configure access to Azure resources by assigning roles. 3. Configure management access to Azure. 4. Troubleshoot RBAC. 5. Implement Azure policies. 6. Assign RBAC roles. Domain 3, create and deploy apps, which comprises of 5 to 10% weightage in exam. It can be explained in 2 parts. First, create web apps by using PaaS. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Create an Azure App Service web app. 2. Create documentation for the API. 3. Create an app service web app for containers. 4. Create an app service background task by using web jobs. 5. Enable diagnostics logging. Second, design and develop apps that run in containers. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Configure diagnostic settings on resources. 2. Create a container image by using a Docker file. 3. Create an Azure Kubernetes service. 4. Publish an image to the Azure Container Registry. 5. Implement an application that runs on an Azure container instance. 6. Manage container settings by using code. Domain 4. Implement authentication and secure data, which comprises of 5 to 10% weightage in exam. We can understand this in 2 parts. First, implement authentication. It is divided into 4 parts. 1. Implement authentication by using certificates, forms-based authentication, tokens, or Windows integrated authentication. 2. Implement multi-factor authentication by using Azure AD. 3. Implement OAuth 2 authentication. 4. Implement managed identities for Azure Resources Service Principal authentication. Second, implement secure data solutions. It is divided into 5 parts. 1. Encrypt and decrypt data at rest and in transit. 2. Encrypt data with always encrypted. 3. Implement Azure Confidential Compute. 4. Implement SSL or TLS communications. 5. Create, read, update, and delete keys, secrets, and certificates by using the Key Vault API. Domain 5. Deploy for the cloud and Azure storage, which comprises of 15 to 20% weightage in exam. It can be explained in 4 parts. First, configure a message-based integration architecture. It is divided into 6 parts. 1. Configure an app or service to send emails. 2. Configure Event Grid. 3. Configure the Azure Relay Service. 4. Create and configure a Notification Hub. 5. Create and configure an Event Hub. 6. Create and configure a Service Bus. Second, develop for auto-scaling. It is divided into 3 parts. 1. Implement auto-scaling rules and patterns like schedule, operational or system metrics. 2. Implement CodeNet, addresses singleton application instances. 3. Implement CodeNet, addresses the transient state. Third, develop solutions that use Cosmos DB storage. It is divided into 3 parts. 1. Create, read, update, and delete data by using appropriate APIs. 2. Implement partitioning schemes. 3. Set the appropriate consistency level for operations. 4th, develop solutions that use a relational database. It is divided into 4 parts. 1. Provision and configure relational databases. 2. Configure elastic pools for Azure SQL Database. 3. Implement Azure SQL Database managed instances. 4. Create, read, update, and delete data tables by using code. Now, let's discuss about Preparatory Guide for Microsoft Azure Technologies. First, be clear about the exam objectives. Second, refer the exam guide. Third, understand the topics and exam skills outline. Fourth, instructor-led training. Fifth, collect study material. Sixth, enroll for practice test. For more such videos, subscribe to our channel.